One. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the third episode of the iDebate server. I'm the moderator for tonight. Oh man, my bad. You guys know me. At least you should, you fucking weebs. The topic for tonight is should abortion be illegal? Or, if you read it on iFunnyer, it's should it be legal to terminate a pregnancy? Or should it be illegal to terminate a pregnancy? Because the iFunnyer mods are all noons, and they blacklisted my posts because it had the word abortion in it. Arguing in the affirmative is with the blue name is the iFunnyer user Conservativegirl. She has 11,000 subscribers, and as I've told her, it's because of the last four letters in her username. She doesn't believe me. She's a Republican. Shut up, Maddie. She is a Republican. She's a Republican and a conservative activist. While arguing in the negative with the red name is the iFunnyer user Shrodingersdipshit. I don't know anything about this dude, but he says he's a classical liberal and a self-described raging neckbeard. Each debater will be given 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes, for their opening argument. After which, each debater has given their opening. They will then have 10 minutes to rebut their opponent. After the rebuttals, they will have 20 minutes of open dialogue, asking each other questions with as minimal interruptions as possible, though I doubt that I will be able to abstain from getting involved for very long. After the dialogue, they will both offer a 5-minute closing or less, but no more. This will conclude the debate, at which point we will allow you, the audience members, to connect and ask questions to the debaters. The debaters will only answer questions they are directly asked. So if you wish to hear both people answer, make sure you ask both of them. The Q&A will last no more than 30 minutes, after which the debate will be over. I will end the recording and it will go on YouTube. But anybody who wants to stay in the chat room and talk, you guys will be able to. I will unlock the voice chat and everybody will be able to join. The rules are quite simple. The debaters will not be allowed to go over time during the opening, or they will be muted. The rebuttal, however, will be given about 15 to 20 seconds of overlap, since the debaters will likely be creating their rebuttal as we go along. The open dialogue will be as free as possible, and while the debaters are restricted, I repeat, restricted from directly insulting one another at any point during the exchange, profanity will not be censored. You guys are allowed to cuss as long as you don't do it gratuitously, and that is to my discretion. If the conversation between you two becomes incoherent or way off topic, I, the moderator, will intervene and I will bring it back to the point at hand. The closing will also last for no more than 5 minutes, or the debater will be muted. During each phase of the debate, I will let the debaters know when they have 1 minute left, 30 seconds left, 10 seconds left, and if either of you are still talking after your time expires, I will mute you and we will move to the next phase. The audience is allowed to utilize the text chat, fact-check the debaters, and deliberate the topic amongst themselves. However, you will not be allowed to connect to the voice chat until the Q&A, at which point I will select the audience members based on a first-come, first-served basis. When you want to ask a question upon the Q&A, type a 1 in the chat room, and I will make sure to remind you of that when the time comes. You will be assigned the role of questioner and will be allowed to connect. If both debaters understand and agree to the rules, we will go ahead and begin. Conservativegirl, since you're arguing in the affirmative of the motion this evening, you will be giving your opening argument first. You may start whenever you like.
Oh god, okay. Sure. I can start now. So, basically, as soon as a sperm fertilizes an egg, a new living human has come into the world. That's a non-disputable biological fact. Because of this, we have an obligation to protect that life just as we do with all of our other citizens. Every civilized society has laws to protect life, and even in our Constitution, we have the right to life under the 14th Amendment. We do not have the right to privacy that was made up in the Roe v. Wade case. However, even if we did, killing would not be under that. Just because you kill somebody in private doesn't make it okay. Abortion is essentially dragging an unconscious person into your home and killing them for being there. We may have the right to protect our home, but not to use it to kill an innocent, helpless person that we forced into that situation. That's it. I'm Gucci.
While that wasn't 5 minutes, I will go ahead and reset the timer, and Schrodinger, you can take it away.
Okay. On the topic of abortion, we have to understand that there are scientific facts about it. I do agree with Conservative Girl that life begins at conception. However, um, the way people justify abortion is not because we have an obligation to defend human life or just say, do we defend human life? It is in which context do we defend human life? There's also the idea that um, the idea of personhood. When does somebody become a person? Is person synonymous with human? And I don't think it is. In the idea that should it be illegal, we have to look at what these words mean from a legal standpoint. I think that bestowing legal recognition of personhood at birth provides a clear and consistent standard without morally or legally obligating anyone to give birth against their will. Unlike what Conservative Girl says, Roe v. Wade and Casey versus Planned Parenthood does matter. Um, the constitutional rights we have are given to us by the Supreme Court, and they are not taken away from us by anybody except the Supreme Court. So when we talk about these issues, we have to understand that it's not a simple question such as, is it human? Is it alive? We have to understand, is it a person? Should we value the rights of the fetus's life over that of the woman's bodily autonomy, and what the societal impacts of banning or allowing of abortion are? I'll surrender the rest of that time.
All right. Maddie, you will have up to 10 minutes to rebut what your opponent just said.
Okay. Okay, so I guess I'll just go section by section. Of course, Roe v. Wade's important in the fact that it's why abortion is legal, but the justices on the case even said that it should be revisited when we've learned more about unborn children, which we have. We now know that it's a human life. So basically, it's not right to use legality as a way to defend it, because if you look at our country's history, we have a pretty bad rap sheet of having awful atrocities be legal, and in fact they use the exact same um the exact same argument when it comes to defending those atrocities such as slavery. Well, yeah, they're human, but they're not as human as us. Or yeah, they're human, but they're not a person because of their skin color. So this is legal. I mean, we allowed slavery for so long on the basis that they are not people, which is exactly what we're doing to the unborn. We're saying, well, yeah, they might be human, but they're not people, so killing them is okay. The dictionary definition of person is a human being, which you already agreed an unborn child is. So, with that, I would say we're not giving the fetus any more rights than we're giving the mother. We're giving them equal rights. The fetus doesn't have the right to kill the mother either, which is why the only case of abortion that I'd accept is when the mother's life is in danger. But the mother has to offer that same courtesy. She has consented to being pregnant when she consented to sex because she knew that that could happen, and yet she continued with the act. That would be like a surgeon starting a surgery and then saying, you know what? It's my bodily autonomy right that I don't want to be here anymore and I'm going to leave this patient to die because I changed my mind. You can't just randomly change your mind and then because of that allow somebody to die that's dependent on you because of your actions and your actions alone. I mean, of course, with abortion, there's the man that comes into play, but he is held responsible through things such as child support. Obviously, we can't put the baby in him. That's just biologically not possible. So, I would say that if this is an issue of bodily autonomy, abortion robs 650,000 females of their body each year through killing them. And the government already controls our bodies. For example, things such as no drugs, you can't be nude in public. So, apparently, so yeah, like I said, the dictionary definition of person is a human being, which, like I said, the fetus is. And I mean, we all have different definitions of when somebody's a person. Like, there are some people who think, well, it's a person the second of conception, it's a person when it takes its first breath. I mean, I've seen some extremists who don't think it's a person up until it's 3 years old, which is just insane. So, we have no real way to gauge when somebody's a person, but we do have a way to gauge when human life starts. And because of that, that's when we need to go off of, because everybody has different definitions of person. That's it.
Okay, I will reset the timer. You had another 6.5 minutes to go, but Schrodinger, you're up, buddy.
Okay, so let me start with, I believe, what was your first point, which was Roe v. Wade, although giving the rights of abortions, even the justice says it should be revisited when we learned more about what the fetus actually is. The problem with that argument is that it was revisited in Casey versus Planned Parenthood, and even if you didn't mean it in that sense, it hasn't been revisited yet. These simply aren't, cities telling you that you don't have to wear a helmet when you're riding a motorcycle. This is the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is what gives us our rights in America. It is the Constitution, and they are the definers of the Constitution. Your second point, definition of a human being. I really don't care what the dictionary definition of human being is, because language itself is so fluid that the dictionary isn't always right in all cases. So just using the dictionary definition to describe philosophical concepts, I think, is incredibly dismissive in and of itself. We really need to talk about this more in terms of philosophy, and not just, well, what does the dictionary say? If you were to Google right now what the dictionary definition of the word wet is, I guarantee you could not get to damp. According to the dictionary you'll find online, there is no such thing as a damp object. That's why dictionary definitions don't always work. Your second point is that fetuses have rights. As I've already discussed, rights are given to us by the Constitution. They're given to us by the social authority that bestows us with rights. Fetuses are not given human rights by the Constitution anywhere in the Constitution or in any Supreme Court holding. Fetuses simply do not have rights until they are born. That in and of itself is not saying that it's okay to murder fetuses in the womb. It's not murder, but, misspeak. But what was I saying? Fetuses simply don't have rights in the Constitution. So they don't have the right to bodily autonomy. They don't have the right to life. Rights are not intrinsic to our humanity. I don't believe that. 3, you point to consent of pregnancy. First of all, this doesn't apply to rape victims. It just doesn't. But I know for a fact that you don't agree with abortions for rape victims either. This would be punishment for being a sexual assault victim. I simply find that morally abhorrent. I don't understand why we should punish a woman monetarily, mentally, and physically for being the victim of a crime. That to me is more ridiculous than terminating an unconscious, unfeeling, unthinking, not self-aware human. Your last point you brought up was men's rights. Men don't have any kind of say in whether or not women get abortions, and I'm not saying legally. I'm saying as of right now, if somebody were to get you pregnant, they wouldn't have any right to tell you what to do because they don't carry the baby. If it were the fact that men were irreparably damaged in their body by carrying out a pregnancy, they would have a say in that, but the problem is that they don't. Now, I'd like to go more into this personhood argument. I define a person as anybody with all of the necessary faculties for existential thought. And when I say anybody, I actually mean anything. I would include I would say there is such thing as non-human persons as long as they demonstrate the capacity for existential thought, such as gorillas. It is in these ways that I can justify the fact that I'm not okay with killing people or killing aliens if it, is the fact that aliens exist, or killing, I don't think you should be able to kill apes just willy-nilly all because you want to. That should be prosecuted as murder as well. That's really all I got to say. I think I hit every point.
Oh man, my bad. What the hell are you talking about in the chat?
Do you think don't exist?
Just ignore me, guys. Just ignore me, guys.
Mexico is actually a government conspiracy theory to build the border wall.
Because you said
Huh.
if aliens exist, and I decided to make a joke. So,
Oh,
all right.
I gotcha.
At this point, we're going to go ahead and jump into the 20-minute dialogue. So you guys are going to be able to talk to each other, just ask each other questions, answer questions. I will not intervene unless it gets rowdy or off topic. So
Yeah,
you guys
fuck
may
you,
begin.
dipshit.
Mod. All right.
Go ahead.
Because my conversation was more recent, you can go first, Maddie.
Oh, gentlemen. So I would say you gave your definition of a person, right?
Correct.
So what if my definition of a person is they're not a person until 5? Does that mean I should be able to kill them up until then?
So your question is, what defines personhood?
Yeah, like you have to give me actual evidence of it, though. Your opinion doesn't count.
This is a philosophical question. It's not something I could hand you a science sheet on and say this is it. Like I said,
Yeah, exactly.
the definition of personhood is in fact arbitrary.
Yeah. So, like I'm saying, why should
Okay,
we?
but the definition of consent is at what age you can give consent is also arbitrary. Does that mean it shouldn't exist?
I think that it should exist, but it's different because consent isn't killing.
Okay, but
Like,
are you okay with a 20-year-old having sex with a 15-year-old?
no.
Are you okay with an 18-year-old having sex with a 23-year-old?
Yes.
Are you okay with a 17-year-old having sex with a 22-year-old?
Yes.
Okay, are you okay with a 16-year-old having sex with a 21-year-old?
Yep.
Okay, so what happened between the ages of 15 and 16 that made it okay for you to have sex with that person? What evidence could you give me that it is now okay? Puberty happens at 14 in girls, Semi.
It's literally just my opinion.
Okay,
JT,
so
shut
this,
the fuck up.
so you're right. It literally just is your opinion, but we have these laws to protect people anyway.
Uh-huh.
We have these
But
laws
we're
because they benefit society anyway, even if they're arbitrary and even if they're sometimes unfair.
but we aren't protecting anybody with abortion. We're hurting people.
We're protecting women.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
Women, no. Let me say this really quick. Women, if abortion's illegal, the only thing at stake is their lifestyle. If abortion is legal, what's at stake is the baby's life. We are not protecting women by having abortion legal. And in fact, we hurt women with it. Women die from legal abortions all the time.
Did
And
you know
women have.
women die from childbirth all the time? Did you know you're actually about 10 times more likely to die in childbirth than you are in a legal abortion?
Did you know that in Poland, after they banned abortion, the maternal death rate went down 30%?
What does that have to do with anything?
Because it's showing that more people were actually dying
Yes,
from abortion than from.
but this is talking about should it be legal in America?
Yeah, and I'm saying it shouldn't be because the death rate of abortion vastly outweighs the death rate of giving birth because we have thousands of babies dying from it.
Okay, but what would happen to these children what are women who can't take care of these children supposed to do?
They're supposed to close their fucking legs, first of all.
Okay, so what if they get raped?
Well, I think that's a more difficult situation, but I would say that the rapist should have to pay for it. And I think
Okay, does that mean the baby is no longer going to wreak havoc on that woman's body and her mind?
well, actually, people who get abortions are at a greatly increased risk of depression, and so are sexual assault
So are women who give birth.
survivors. No, they're not at
In fact, yes, they are, because your body stops producing oxytocin directly after you give birth. Not stops completely, but stops for a little bit. There's
Yeah,
actually an entire syndrome for it.
yeah, I know. Post whatever, I forget what it's called, but yeah, but that's usually temporary. These women who have had abortion have to live with this guilt their entire life. They're at a much increased risk for suicide. They're at a much increased risk to lose a baby in the future through miscarriage. they're at increased risk for things like breast cancer. Abortion hurts women, and in fact, over half of the women who have had abortions regret them.
You're correct, but it's their choice. People who smoke are a greatly increased risk of lung cancer and throat cancer, but we don't just not allow them to do that, right?
Right, because smoking only
But
hurts them, but we don't allow people to do shit like cocaine because that could make them a danger to other people, which abortion is. It's hurting somebody else, not just
so
you.
can
This
alcohol.
has Sure, but this has nothing to do, like, my views on abortion has nothing to do with a woman's body. Obviously, I don't want to control women, but it has everything to
But
do.
if you ban abortion, you have to force women to give birth.
Yes.
That is the natural conclusion. People who get pregnant will be forced to give birth.
Yep.
Right. So you do, at least to some extent, want to control women after they're pregnant.
I want to control them. I want to stop them from killing somebody.
Do you just disagree with all killings in all situations?
All killings of an innocent person, yeah. I'm not a huge fan of the death penalty. So I guess I'm kind of iffy on that. But
What?
yeah, I'm against taking innocent life
Why?
because we don't have the authority to end an innocent life, or at least we shouldn't.
What makes us not have that authority?
The law.
No, the law actually gives the government the right to give out authority like that.
Yeah, but the government hasn't in it, so.
The government has, because abortion is legal right now.
Well, right now, but we're trying to
So
change that.
women do actually have the authority currently to get abortions, right?
Yeah, but like I said before, the government isn't always right. I mean, like I said, we had slavery that was legal. We had Jim Crow laws that were legal. In Germany, the Holocaust was legal, and it was all on the basis that these people aren't people enough and therefore don't have to be protected under the law, which is exactly what we're doing with abortion.
But then you're just wanting, you just. So, if I get this straight,
Mm-hmm.
what do you propose women do if they were to ban abortion? I did bring up in my opening argument that we have to look at the way that society would be affected by these laws.
I think we need better sex education. Like,
No, that's not what I
what do you
asked.
mean no?
What I asked was, what do we do if this gets banned? What are the natural consequences if abortion is banned?
Honestly, not that many.
Look, Skids in the comment got it right. It's higher birth rates.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing.
Do you know what it is a bad thing for? Poverty.
So let's just kill the poor people.
Nowhere did I
like,
say let's kill poor people. But when more babies are born into poor families, as a general trend, they grow up to be poor. They grow up to be criminals, generally.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but it's not like these women can give away their children for adoption like most people say you can. That costs money.
Yeah.
So what do people
But
do if they don't have the money to support a child?
Oh my god, I'm so glad you asked that. There's so many pro-life charities that will help women get things like baby clothes and give them money for their babies and
Let
will
me
cover
understand.
adoption fees.
Let me understand if I have this right. How many abortions are done per year?
Wait, hold on, guys. Conservative. Hold on, guys. Conservative girl was trying to explain about the charities and answer that question about what women are going to do if they can't get abortions. I'd like her to go ahead and finish that before you guys move on to another.
Okay. Well, there are a bunch of pro-life charities that will help women with the cost of things like the pregnancy and adoption fees, and will even find them housing and help them find jobs to support the baby if they don't want to give it up for adoption. I think that just saying, well, no, when you said, when I started talking about better sex ed and you shut it down, I don't think that's fair, because I don't think we should just ban abortion and that's it. I think that we need to put more things into our society to help uh, stop unplanned pregnancies. For example, I think that it's stupid that in a lot of states you have to be a certain age and sometimes even have a kid before they'll let you get your tubes tied. I think that that is bodily autonomy. And if you don't want kids and you want to get your tubes tied, fine, get them tied. I don't care. Um, I think, like I said, we need better sex ed. We need more accessible birth control. Like, honestly, I think it should be over the counter. Um, so I think with stuff like that, will decrease the amount of unplanned pregnancies, which we have been. Abortion is at the lowest rate it's ever been at. So I think if we put those into place, if we have more help for women who do face unplanned pregnancies, if we hold men accountable with child support, then I think that there's honestly not going to be a need for abortion in general.
Okay. So, if I understand you correctly, you say these charities, these pro-life charities, will help women who are forced to give birth against their will.
Yep.
How many abortions happen per year? I know you said they're at the lowest rate. What is that number?
I'm not sure the exact number. I think that I could Google it. 1 second. It says, oh God. Do you care if I use Wikipedia?
Don't care if you use Wikipedia. I'm an advocate of Wikipedia. According to Fully Semi-Automatic, it says it's 862,000
we'll
in
just use
2017.
that. Yeah, go
Okay.
for it.
Do you think the charities are going to be able to support 862,000 plus babies?
Actually, I do. And that's assuming that every woman who got an abortion that year did so because of financial reasons, which just isn't true. So first of all, there's that. Not all of those 800,000 need the financial support. Oh my God, JT.
Okay. So, using what I just quickly...
No. I'm still going. Sorry, I got distracted. I have a small attention span. So not all of them needed financial support. First of all, a lot of them, in fact, just need emotional support. But so first of all, they wouldn't have to financially care for all of that. Second of all, I think that you keep leaving out my other plans for what we should do as society, like the better sex ed and stuff. I think that if we put those into place, we wouldn't be having this amount of unplanned pregnancies.
You're right. I actually agree with you on those points, and it's why I don't bring them up. But my point is that there are people who can't have children because they don't have the money. Forcing them to give birth, not only is that in and of itself wrong, skids for the last time adoption costs money.
And for the last time, these pro-life charities will help them. And also, I mean,
I promise you, these pro-life charities would not be able to support 860,000 births per year, even if we just took 30% of that, which is ballpark it 240,000. Let's just say 250,000 kids per year. 250,000 kids per year at, let's say, around $12,000 yearly to take care of a child. There's no way charities would be able to do that. You would have to tax people.
They'd be able to help.
They'd be able to help some people, but not all of them. Not only that.
Can I finish? You made a point.
Yeah, let her finish, man.
Go on.
Okay.
Go on. So basically, the charities, they do more to help financially than just hand you money. They'll help you find jobs and low-income housing. I mean, yeah, they're not going to support you and your kid up until they're 18, but like I said, they'll help with adoption fees, So that's like a one-time cost that they'll cover. They'll help you get jobs. They'll help you get out of poverty so that you can support yourself and the baby. And like I said, we have to hold men responsible with their child support, which will greatly help with monetary. And I just don't think that it's a good argument that we should be able to take a life because they might be poor.
I don't think it's a good argument to say that. Now, sure, I think it's a great argument that women should be able to control when they have a baby if they're not monetarily ready. Just
Yeah,
my opinion.
no, I agree. But
But
when
I
they
don't think it's a good argument to say that women should be forced to give birth because there is an unthinking, unfeeling, small amount of cells growing inside of them.
cells argument, love it. We're all clumps of cells, babe. Just because we're bigger doesn't
Babe,
really mean anything.
babe, I said small clump.
Okay, you guys have 1 minute left on the dialogue.
When
However,
when I say
guys, you have 1 minute left on the dialogue. However, since both of you yielded most of your time in the openings and the rebuttals, you guys can have an extra 15 minutes if you want it. If you don't, I'm going to call time in 30 seconds.
I don't care. It's up to him.
I think I'd rather just keep going.
Oh joy. Okay.
So when I say a small clump of cells, if you look at a blastocyte, a trophoblast, and a zone of pellucida and say, wow, that is literally no different from this fully grown human being over here, you'll see where I find a problem. You'll see where I'll find a problem where I see a woman with thoughts and dreams and morality and consciousness and go, your rights do not matter to me because there are 3 cells inside of you. And in a while, that might be a baby. But I literally just don't care about what you want. I don't care what happens to your body. A fetus causes irreparable damage to a woman's body every single time.
Want to know what else causes irreparable damage to a body? Abortion.
Irreparable.
To the baby's body, yeah.
Why should I care about the baby?
Because the baby's totally innocent in the situation and the woman's not.
What? Okay, this is not in the case in rape victims.
Rape victims make up less than 0.1% of abortions, and that baby is not
Okay,
responsible. No,
wait.
I'm not done. Not done. The baby is not responsible for the father's crimes. You cannot get the death penalty for rape, so why should you be able to get the death penalty for being a product of it?
You said that rape only constitutes 0.4% of abortions?
0.1.
0.1. Okay, so you admit it does happen.
Of course that happens.
Okay, so because it happens, what do you do in these situations? Is your argument really this doesn't happen often enough for me to care?
No, my argument is you can't give the death penalty to an innocent person for a crime they didn't commit.
But you can subjugate a woman to 18 years of raising a child because she was a victim.
Nope, I can subjugate her to 9 months of carrying that baby and then putting it up for adoption. All which
Why?
will be because why
can you subjugate her to any punishment?
Because I would say that you can't. Abortion isn't going to fix what happened to her, and in fact, it's just going to make her more depressed. I think that just because you were a victim of violence does not then therefore give you the right to commit violence against another living person. And
we just used person. How you're defining person as just a human being, right?
Yeah, I believe somebody's a person from the moment of conception.
So are you okay with like just murdering animals, like beating dogs? They're
I'm
not
a
people.
vegetarian.
They're not people.
They're living. I love
Okay, so a person is just living, just alive. Trees are people.
No,
So what is a person?
a living human being.
Okay. Let me see if I can actually make some headway here.
I think there's probably some property of personhood that neither of you are really articulating that well. So maybe you should go
I
more
think
into
there's just-
perception.
I just don't think that we can articulate personhood well because it's literally a matter of opinion. Like he said, it's a philosophical thing, and nobody's philosophies on it are going to be the same, which is why I don't think that we can govern whether somebody has the right to life based off of philosophies that differ from person to person.
That's exactly what ethics are. That's exactly what our laws dictate. Some people might think it's okay to own a gun, and some people might not. And these are not, science questions. These are moral questions. But we make laws about them anyway.
Yeah, but the gun debate is a lot different than abortion.
Yeah, let's not go off track, guys. Stick to abortion.
You're right. The gun debate is a lot different from abortion. My point is that we make laws all the time based on philosophical concepts that differ from person to person all the time.
To an extent, but we don't have, when it comes to abortion, we do have the biological backing of, well, we know it's a living human. So
Great, but we kill living humans. We do that.
We don't do that with innocent ones.
You just need the right context. Actually, we do.
Not really.
Would you like to wager?
We do on accident sometimes, which is
You're right.
one of the reasons.
We do on accident, but you're still allowed to do it.
Well, you're not allowed to do it knowing they're innocent.
So what?
So we know this baby is innocent.
But you can kill somebody. As a matter of fact, you can knowingly kill innocent people.
How?
Yeah, just go to war.
Oh, they're not. War is a lot different than abortion. You keep conflating it with things that have nothing to do with it.
I'm conflating the logic. You have to understand the logic.
I understand the logic, but what you're saying with war, well, sure, there are casualties of innocent people, but we're also killing bad people. With abortion, we're literally just killing an innocent baby for
But we're
no
also
reason.
protecting the rights of women. Again, this is a value argument. Do we value the rights of women or the life of a child?
We can value both. It's not a one or the other.
But you have to value one over the other.
No, you don't.
You can't value them equally, otherwise you can't come to a decision about it.
You can value them equally. I value the woman's right to bodily autonomy completely. She can do whatever she'd like with her body. I draw the line where she starts to hurt somebody else's body.
Except her body is part of pregnancy, irrevocably. And she shouldn't be forced to be a vessel. That would violate her bodily autonomy.
Nobody forced her. And don't bring up rape because we're talking about abortion in general. So unless you think that abortion should only be allowed in cases of rape, I wouldn't bring it up.
Sure.
So nobody forced her to get pregnant. She did that with the man, and they should be held responsible for their actions. You cannot take the life of a child because you don't like the decisions that you made. Like I said, it was kind of like the surgeon analogy I made. He has the right to bodily autonomy. He doesn't have to operate if he doesn't want to. He cannot go into an operating room, cut somebody open, and be like, you know what, fuck this, I don't want to do it, and walk away, leaving the patient to die. Sure, we're forcing him to stay there and finish the surgery, but that's because he gave up his right to bodily autonomy. He took an innocent life in his hand.
Those are two different situations.
How?
You're conflating the two.
How?
One is a job.
Okay.
One is a job. First of all, surgeons can't.
Guys, you guys have one more minute, and then we're going to go into the close.
So we should be allowed.
Surgeons can absolutely deny people surgery.
Yeah.
They don't have to do it.
Yeah,
but women, when a doctor goes and operates on somebody, his body is not sacrificed in the process. A woman carrying pregnancy is. Her body is sacrificed in the process.
It actually puts a grueling toll on surgeons' bodies to do surgeries. It hurts their joints tremendously to have to stand there. It can hurt their
not their knee joints, man.
Well, You're acting like a woman's life is over when she gives birth. Like her body's just
You're
totally
acting
ruined,
like
but
a
that's just
woman
not true.
can't die.
10 seconds, guys.
Do you know a woman can die during abortion? Your point. Women die all the time during abortion. 650,000 die. It's not a medical procedure.
Why are you conflating? You're using an ambiguous.
Nope. All right, that's time, guys. So we're gonna go into the closing now. I just had to mute you both. So we're gonna start with Conservative Girl. You can close. You have up to 5 minutes to offer a closing argument. Then Schrodinger, you'll go next, and then we'll go into the Q&A. All right, I'm gonna unmute you, Conservative Girl.
On the street, I can just go stab her.
Conservative Girl, you were muted that whole time. Guys, you were muted. You were muted that whole time. So we're gonna go into the close now. So Conservative Girl, you're gonna go first, and then Schrodinger, you'll go next. All right.
Okay. Did it start?
It'll start when you start talking.
Oh. Okay, so in closing, I'm going to repeat one of the things I said in my opening. If abortion is legal, or if abortion is illegal, the only thing at stake is a woman's lifestyle. If abortion is not or is legal, the thing at stake is the baby's life. I don't think that it's fair to base whether somebody lives or dies off of philosophy because, like I said, what if I think somebody is not a person of 5? Well, then can I just go stab my 5-year-old? No. I know I talked to dipshit. I don't know how to say the other part. And the iFunnyer chat thing about do you think it should be legal up to birth? He said, personally, no, but legally, yes. But we should be required to give these babies medical attention if they survive it. Well, let me ask you, what's the difference between the baby in the womb and the baby outside of the womb? It's the same child. Why does one get to be saved and the other gets to be killed? You can't change whether or not you think somebody's a human being. Either they are and they deserve to be protected under our law, or they're not and they shouldn't be. If you agree that they're a human being, then their size shouldn't matter. A newborn is not less human or less of a person than an adult. And deciding whether or not somebody's person enough to live, like I said, has been the cause of every great tragedy in human history. I'm good. I'm Gucci. He can go.
Schrodinger, you can go, bud.
Oh, okay. So, like I said, maybe I didn't do a very good job of articulating myself because I'm not behind my computer screen in the dark at 1 a.m. But I think that this is again a value judgment. This is just whether or not we as a people value the bodily autonomy of women over the life of a fetus. I think it is absolutely draconian in and of itself to force women to give birth, whether or not they did it, whether or not they got pregnant because of their own carelessness. You shouldn't be able to force a punishment on somebody that will cause irreparable damage to their body simply because they did something that was an entirely legal act. The personhood thing is that saying that just because one thing is no more human than another thing doesn't even make sense, because there were humans before Homo sapiens exist, but I doubt any of us would consider them on the same level of personhood as we were. Homo heidelbergensis and Homo erectus did not have our kind of mental capacity, but they were just as human as us. So I think on the right that just saying that fetuses are just as human, therefore they're just as valuable, is wrong, because we value humans differently. I value my family more than I value strangers. In that way, it can be said that we value other humans differently. We can value women over valuing embryos. And I think that's what we do already. I think we do that. I think we should do that. We should value women already over fetuses because they are people.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're going to open up the questions now. If you guys want to ask a question, just go ahead and drop a one. All right. Fully semi-automatic rifle, you're up first. You are now allowed to connect. All right. You're on, buddy. You have to unmute yourself, bud. Or just disconnect and reconnect. There we go. Turn your volume up a little bit.
Up.
There you go.
Is this better?
That's good.
Okay. So this is for I guess this is for both of you. I mean, we sort of already heard I guess we heard both of your opinions, but so do you classify the ending of life as killing that life? So you're just like okay with killing that life inside the fetus, like killing that fetus no matter what? Shh. This is for oh man, my bad. Or Schrodinger, I mean Schrodinger.
I'm not debating.
I'm sorry. Is the question, am I just okay with killing?
Yeah.
It depends on the context entirely.
Well, that's what you classify as abortion in my from what you've provided with your argument, you think that killing life inside of inside a woman is okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's it.
All right. Next person that's going to ask a question is going to be Rydog. Rydog, you are in, buddy.
All right, yeah, I got a question for Conservativegirl.
Yeah.
What do you value more, a full-grown woman or a baby?
I value them equally.
If you had to choose one to live, which one would it be?
Ooh, I don't do hypotheticals.
Hey,
Why is that funny?
Schrodinger.
What's the point?
Calm down, buddy.
Well,
What's
the point I was
the
trying to get
point?
across is that, in my opinion, a woman would be better for society than a baby. Because if the baby were to die,
but
then it wouldn't matter.
See,
Because the woman if a woman is more useful to society than a baby would be.
but this question
to
has
get across.
nothing to do with abortion because, like I said, the only time I support abortion is if the mother's life is at risk. So to say, well, you have to pick one, the mom or the baby, why? I mean, this has nothing to do with abortion. If abortion's illegal, the women who get pregnant aren't all just gonna automatically die. Like, there's just no reason to pick between the two. It's a fallacy.
All right.
Okay. All right. I guess he's good. Rydog, go ahead and take off that roll. Ethan wanted to ask a question. Ethan, when you want to ask a question, press 1, not 2, so I know you're serious, all right? Okay, you're coming in, bud.
Alright, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Alright, so I just wanted to say to Schrodinger, you said that when a woman makes an accident, has a baby, and she gets pregnant, that she shouldn't be forced to deal with the consequences.
Ethan, who's your question for?
Oh, Schrodinger.
Okay.
And I think that people make mistakes all the time like that, and people have to deal with their consequences. No matter what those consequences are, you knew the consequences before you took that action.
So if I understand your case correctly, it's that if you willingly participate in a risky activity and the risk happens to you, you have to deal with the consequences?
Correct.
Why don't we do that in any other situation ever?
They do. It's called jail time or the death sentence or etc. Gambling, for
Okay.
instance.
Let's say, for example, you play football. You have a risk of hurting yourself in football. When you get hurt, let's say you break your leg, they don't go, sorry, you can't get that fixed. You knew the risk when you went in. You can get things fixed. Just because it's a consequence of what you did doesn't mean you can't have it fixed. Doesn't mean you can't rectify the situation, especially when it pertains to your body and if that consequence is going to hurt your body much more.
I mean, that's kind of a different scenario since you're not hurting anyone else.
I asked you the logic of your question before it started.
Right. I guess that makes sense. But I mean, I guess the whole thing is if you consider a fetus a human. I guess that's kind of the whole debate.
Yeah, a fetus is a human. It's not a person, in my opinion.
What's the difference between those two things?
People have the Jesus, I just lost the word.
Consciousness.
No, people have the fuck. I actually lost the word. They have the ability to think existentially. To possibly think existentially.
Alright. I get that. And I think there is a middle ground for the two things. But I'm not exactly sure how you would find that middle ground for the two things. Since
You
there's
debate
really
it.
I mean like physically. Because there's really only two options, either abort it or you don't.
Well, here's my thing in terms of physically. Fetuses gain all the necessary faculties during the beginning of the third trimester.
Okay, we're
Right.
gonna have to wrap this question up, guys. There's other people in line.
Okay.
Alright.
Is this good? We good?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
All right, the next person is Blue Jay. Blue Jay, you're up, buddy.
You might want to meet me by the way.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Blue Jay.
Okay. This question is for Schrodinger's. I was wondering where you think human rights come from, if they're intrinsic, or do you think the Constitution is what provides them?
Human rights are given to you by the social authority of which you are a part. Whatever
So,
society you're
basically,
in, whatever runs that society, gives you your rights. So in North Korea, it's the North Korean government. In ancient Egyptian times, it was the pharaoh. In America, it's the Constitution and the government and the Supreme Court.
Okay, that's all.
Okay. All right. Second. Mute. Next person is Dan for Logic. Dan, you're up, buddy. Dan.
My question is towards a conservative girl.
Okay.
What makes a zygote have personhood, and what makes a haploid gamete not have personhood, otherwise known as sex cells?
A haploid gamete or the sex cells don't have personhood because they're never going to grow or turn into anything on their own, and they also share the same DNA as whoever they're in. A fetus or an embryo is constantly growing and developing and has unique human DNA that can never be replicated and is unique to them.
So you're saying they don't have equal potential to become a person?
No, because one has already become a person because they have their own unique DNA and two human parents, while the sex cells live in one human, don't have their own DNA, and aren't growing into anything at that moment.
All right. Thank you for answering my question.
No problem.
Okay, so the next questioner is going to be Skids. Skids, state what who you're asking your question for. You're up.
Oh, okay. So my question is for Schrodinger.
So-
It's kind of like a two-parter, kind of, but not really. So first of all, do you think a human life is different from a person's life?
Depending on the context. So a human can be a person, and a person can be a human, but a person doesn't have to be a human, and a human doesn't have to be a person.
Okay, so all right, I got that. And then the other part I wanted to ask is that do you think life is or the possibility of that's a big word. The thought thing you said.
Existential?
Yeah, right. You think that the possibility of that is like synonymous with the ability to do that? So like we can think about that now, but the fetus has the future or
The possibility.
potential. Yeah, the
Potential. That was the word I was looking
Yeah.
for.
The potential to think that way. So do you think that taking away the potential is the same as or not?
So the potentiality is what gives you a human right. Is what gives you personhood. When you have that potential, you become a person. All you need is the potential. Fetuses before the third trimester don't have this potential because they don't have all the necessary brain faculties. They have the potential to gain the potential, but that's not the same thing as having the already potential.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Andrew, his name is pronounced Schrodinger. Schrodinger's dipshit.
You can all just call me dipshit.
That's or Schrodinger. Either or will work. Okay, Skids, I'm gonna take you off now. Okay, the next questioner is Piece of Pie. Pie, if you want to type your question, you can. If you would like to come up on the mic, I'm gonna unmute you. All right, Pie typed his question out.
Who the
Schrodinger.
hell is whispering?
Hey,
That's me.
Schrodinger. Schrodinger.
I was
Schrodinger.
reading his question.
Schrodinger. I'm gonna read the question out, and then you can answer it. All right?
Okay.
I believe you were the first one to bring up rape, and that this person would be forced to give birth. Do you believe that the baby should be, and if so, why?
Do I believe that the baby should be forced to give birth?
No.
I'm having trouble deciphering the question.
Do you think that the baby should be forced to be aborted?
Should be forced? No, it should be entirely up to the mother.
Yeah, but then that would be. I understand what Pi is asking. He's asking, should the baby be forced?
Oh,
to
okay.
be
So, like, if the mother decides it, should the fetus be forced to get aborted?
Yeah, like you're forcing the fetus to be aborted.
Yes.
Or the baby to be aborted.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Piece of Pie, he answered your question. If you have another question, you're free to get back in the queue. Because they waived so much of their time, I mean, we still have over half an hour left before the debate needs to fully end. So we can keep going as long as people have questions. Fully semi-automatic rifle. You now have the floor, my friend. Who's your question for?
Okay, so I got a question for Schrodinger. I got a little bit of a thing, right? So I'm just having trouble understanding your differentiation between like a person and a human. Could you elaborate more on it? I know you elaborated a lot, but I just want to hear it one more time.
So a human is a genus. It encompasses a lot of different species. A person is somebody or something that can think has the potential to think existentially.
Okay, so you think like complex thought and stuff like that defines a person as a person?
I think it's a little bit more than complex thought. Existential thought has to do a lot with meaning and self-awareness.
Okay. So, what about people who are in like comatose or brain dead? So they're not people anymore? Are they just bodies?
A lot of times comatose people still have brainwaves. Not only that, because they have all the necessary faculties for existential thought, they will still be people.
I mean, fetuses have brainwaves too, though. 12 weeks.
But at 12 weeks, they don't have all the necessary faculties for existential thought. I mean, mice have brainwaves too, but I don't consider them people, even though I might consider like Coco the gorilla a person.
Okay.
Is that good? Can I answer your question? Okay.
Yes, close enough.
All right. So take the roll from him. All right. Your boy Mike, you are up, buddy. Who's your question for? Mike, who's your question for? Mike, you're in the chat room. You can talk.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, cool. I was looking for the unmute button. Okay, I got a question for Schrodinger. So you said that the third trimester is when the baby is viable. Is that correct?
No, it's when it gains all the necessary faculties for existential thought.
Well, are you aware babies have been born before the third trimester before?
Correct.
And you're also aware that as medical advances continue, eventually that window will keep going further and further back, right?
I think it's reasonable to assume that, sure.
So if that's the case, then don't you think that, like, scientifically speaking, you shouldn't be basing your views on abortion based on, like, Oh, they're viable by the third trimester?
I don't base my political views on abortion on science, because there's already that scientific consensus that babies are alive at conception. But however, no matter how premature you are, you will never get the pieces of your brain that you need earlier than when you normally develop them. There may be a little bit of variance, but a baby born at 1 month is not going to have a thalamus, a hypothalamus, a cerebrum. They might have a cerebrum. I actually don't know that, but they certainly don't have a thalamus.
But the point is, the science is saying it's possible for people to be born earlier and earlier.
Being
eventually
born
making
wouldn't
for
make
sure
you a
that's possible.
human.
What?
Being born wouldn't necessarily make you human.
That's weird.
Or I'm sorry, being born wouldn't necessarily make you a person.
I'm sorry. What? It wouldn't make you a human. Why would that be the case?
I corrected myself. Being born wouldn't necessarily make you a person.
Why would that be the case, though?
Because personhood is defined only by the potentiality of existential thought.
But if you're able to be born before the third trimester, which is what you made that basis on, and you're going to keep growing from there, from there, then like, I'm not really sure why you would keep it.
I'm sorry.
the third trimester.
I'm basing my views on abortion on what?
You said, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. You said the potential for all that other stuff, like the faculties of life, they only start at like the third trimester. That's your opinion.
No. That is
What was
when
your view?
that is when the brain develops all those necessary faculties. That is
But it's
when it
almost-
happens.
Okay,
someone is
so
still
what's
born
the specific?
anyway.
Hold on, guys. What's the specific question, Mike?
The specific question is, regardless of that brain function, if the person was born and is alive and is going to keep growing, then should any of that stuff really matter?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think Schrodinger answered that. So let's go ahead and move on. We've got other people in line. If you want to ask or extrapolate more, you can just get back in line. I haven't seen anybody type a 1 other than Skids and Ethan. So when they're done, you can just jump back up if that's okay with you, bud.
All right, cool. Thanks.
All right. So we're gonna go ahead and pop that roll off. Go back to mute, and then Skids, you're up next. Then after Skids, it's gonna be Ethan. So Skids, you can come on in.
All right, so another question for you, Schrodinger.
No problem.
So basically, I don't think anybody's asked, or at least I didn't hear it. But do you draw a line for abortions at like a certain part of the? I forgot the word for it, but do you kind of get what I'm saying? Is there like a certain line you would draw at the point in pregnancy for abortion?
6 months. Or I'm sorry, when the baby gains all the necessary brain faculties for existential thought, which is about 6 months.
Okay. All right, that's my question.
Okay. Let me see if I can find anybody to ask a question to Conservative Girl, because she's just kind of sitting there.
I'm chill.
I got a
I'm
question
chilling,
for
bro.
Conservative Girl.
Hold
Oh,
on,
God.
hold on, Skids. Hold
Toe
on.
pics, please? Question mark.
Hold on, Skids. I gotta talk
Ha,
you down,
ha,
man.
ha.
Okay. All right. So Skids. All right. Next person is Ethan, then Piece of Pie. So, Ethan, you're on, bud.
Alright. Yo, what's up?
Who's your question for?
My question's for Schrodinger.
Okay.
So, I'm just gonna keep this one short, but someone who's like brain dead, right, doesn't necessarily have something like the means for existential thought, but could still be alive on life support. Do you think that their life is less important than someone would be like in the fetus?
I think that their life would be. I think it wouldn't be hard to say that their life is less valued in general. However, they still do have all necessary brain faculties.
Okay, I'm just gonna keep it there because I know you're talking a lot.
It's no
Yeah.
problem. I enjoy talking.
It's
That's why I came
okay.
on here.
I think I'm gonna answer so Ethan, you're done, bud, and then Pie, go ahead and type your question out. And then after his question, I'm just going to end the Q&A phase since nobody's asking CG any questions. And I will open up the voice chat and everybody can pop in if they want to. Alright, as soon as Pi gets done typing out his question. Pi, you know you can talk, right? You're not muted anymore. Okay, never mind that, I guess. I think you brought up that pro-life people would force rape victims to carry. Are you aware that's less than 5%? It's actually less than 0.1%, but I'm pretty sure he already answered that, Pi.
I mean, I'll answer it again. It's that frequency doesn't matter. It still happens.
Okay. All right. If I end the debate now, it'd be 1 hour and 5 minutes. I think most of it was the dialogue between you guys. I think that was good. As of right now, there's not a lot of new people wanting to ask questions, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream in 3, 2, 1. Thanks everybody for coming, and I hope to see you in the next one.